Hey folks, this is Brian. My software is not capturing a picture to see what I'm looking at, so I can only tell that I should be looking at you. Anyway, this is Brian. We played Elderath tonight. It's actually very early in the morning. I was catching up on some other weekend videos I watch on YouTube. But, where are we? It is Alor, which is the spring, the second month. Week 4, day 4. It's the day after we arrived in Kars. Raymond and Tindo go to check out, where the various temples are. There's one to Lorath and one to Sylvanus. And Lorath is normally the home and hearth, but his was a runt that came by that one earlier, so it had a very nautical theme to it. I shouldn't touch the table; it'll shake everything. And so he gets into a little rant about, is there nothing we can trust that worshiping the gods can change? Which reminds me, the live plays in the description. So around noon, we all gather together at the Golden Lion. It tells us a bit about his adventures, things he did, where he went, and that kind of stuff that he could remember. When a fellow in a tabard comes in, speaks with Nelson, who points us out, and then he comes over to us. And he opens up a scroll and says that the Lord Chamberlain requires our presence at noon on the morrow. Runt starts to object about these kinds of words of requirements and stuff, and Raymond starts to intercede and replies, tell the Chamberlain that we will be happy to meet with him tomorrow at noon. West does ask Nelson about if there are any, I forgot what the words were, but he couched it in such a way as to ask about magic users in town without, outing himself, and maybe they burn people here because they do witchcraft or whatever. But they don't. There's actually a guild of wizardry here in Kars. Okay, so Raymond and Tindo, they head out to the temples, and as they do, Henry, whose name isn't Henry, it's Herman. I don't know why I had Henry down before. Comes and says, greetings, my friends. How was your evening? And we chat a little bit. He sits down at our table. He spots the scroll and says, good. You've been summoned to see the Chamberlain. Doesn't make any sense. He talks about us getting a reward for recovering the ship in good condition, and rescuing the prisoners, and that Herman felt it was prudent to involve a third party. All the documents would be there, as well as our rewards, and Russ with documents, and talking about waivers and acknowledgments of proper remuneration, and Ryan goes off on that a bit. But this starts to get Wes a little concerned that maybe Herman's trying to cover his rear and keep costs down, right? That he's it's properly we get rewarded, and so that's going to come out and people know about it, but that it's worth X, but we're going to get Y instead. So Wes is kind of iffy about this whole thing at this point. But Raymond remembers to ask the Chamberlain about Herman about proper attire when we're visiting with the Chamberlain, and that gets Herman. Oh, that's right. Oh, we need to get you a tailor. There's not much time. It would be best if we arrange for someone to come here. So he speaks to Nelson, and then he departs. Raymond then reads the scroll to us. He's the only one who can read Norse of all of us. And it's more of an invitation to come and meet with the Chamberlain, so that he, as a third party, can oversee the Weird Guild and recovery for the ship and the people kind of stuff. Raymond and Tindo head over to the Temple of Sylvanus, introduce themselves, ask if they can get proper vestments for here, and then if there's anything that they can do to assist the temple, going to the sick bay, helping those who are ill, that kind of thing. Not like preaching stuff, but helpful things, right? And they're given investments, and there's this, they offer them, housing for 3 days deal and that kind of stuff. I missed something. Oh, while they're there, the captain of the guard of the temple, comes across them and starts asking them questions about, all the way from Telgar kind of thing, and tell me about your trip over, and what can you tell me about the Drugar, and they try to answer as truthfully as possible with presenting us in as positive a light as possible. And nobody really knows how the Drugar got woken up, just that they had woken up and we had fought and actually killed one. And she mentions, they carry diseases. Anyone who had close contact with them should be examined. And at that, Raymond starts to think, because there was Runt or Alvis, they had noticed having bruising on his neck kind of thing, and they took care of that with their cure disease stuff. So they go back to the sick bay here, and they find, a handful of people who are on the boat, and they're sick, so they do what they can there to help cure disease. Back at the inn, about an hour later, someone comes in and talks with Nilsson again, who points to us, and they come on over. This is Torum, and he says that Herman told him to come over, and he starts looking at us. Yes, get you clothes. After looking us over for a bit, though, he looks at West and says, "You look like someone with breeding. You must tell me about the styles." And and then he goes into a lengthy interrogation with West, knowing West is from Telgar and obviously has some kind of social upbringing, and so should know what's in style there, what are the colors, what's the material, fabric, that kind of stuff. So West doesn't get too much in that stuff, but he knows some basic things, what has been popular. And through all this conversation, West is able to realize this guy does know what he's talking about. He's full of himself, but he knows what he's talking about. And then takes measurements for everyone. Now, Raymond's not getting any clothes. Tindo is asking about getting a dress. Runt is not there, so Alexander stands in for Runt because they're about the same size. And then West does his best to remember Tindo's measurements. That evening, excuse me, I was getting ready for dinner. Heta and her daughter show up. Her daughter is not looking too good again. And so they take her up to the rooms and they try to do their magical suppressing of the curse. They can try and do some heal stuff on her to get her back up, but Raymond wasn't able to pull that off. So I mentioned maybe we can try it tomorrow. And while they're up there talking, Heta asks about, do they really have to go to this thing tomorrow? And Raymond suggests, maybe it's a good thing to do since we're in their city, play along. And have you thought about taking her to the actual temples to real priests? I'm just a journeyman kind of thing. But she does not look like she wants to get involved with that kind of stuff. Later that evening, a package arrives. It's the clothes. They're all of medium quality, although Wes's outfit is of a higher style cut, a higher quality cut. The rest of the evening goes by uneventfully. Okay, next morning, after breakfast, Heta and Thyra, which is her daughter's name, which I didn't know, but apparently is in a list of notables that the GM has put together that I haven't looked at yet. But they arrive. Heta, the GM mentions specifically, cleans up very nicely, and is dressed like the rest of us in nice clothes. And there's even a subtle look of subtle application of cosmetics. So we all get together. We head off to the keep. Show the letter. Get in through the castle. They're escorted to the chamber. We are escorted to the chamberlain's office. We notice that the construction of the castle here is older than the construction of stuff at Telgar. This stuff, if we had to guess, went back to the time of Forga, like 1,000 years ago. As we come down, there's a hallway with a waiting area in front of the Chamberlain's place. our office, and Herman is there. Some of us do notice he seems surprised and a bit disappointed that Alexander is not dressed properly, or at least like the rest of us. We get into the room. It's very opulent. It's carpet, wood paneling. It's very nice. There's gold ornamentation, silver appointments, paintings, tapestries. Got stuff everywhere. There's a gentleman behind the table or a desk. He stands up, comes over, greets Herman, and says, "My old friend." And so Wes is still thinking, this is a setup. In fact, there was a point earlier where Runt was thinking, we're just going to get arrested. They're going to bring us in and arrest us. Welcome, travelers from Telgar, that kind of thing. Welcome, and please sit, have a seat. Someone brings in some refreshments. I understand from Herman here that you have recovered one of his vessels, along with his crew, and that's not all, you have rescued a number of our fair citizens. It's my honor to meet with you, and as a representative of the Baron. I am here to ensure that all interested parties that this matter is settled fairly. So Wes is getting this whole, maybe there's not skullduggery, but things falling more in the favor of the locals than us strangers. It says that it's been determined the value of the ship that was recovered in its current state, the rescue of the captain, the mate, and its crew, as well as their citizens. There are 7 of you here for recompense. Is that correct? Look around. Yeah, there's 7 of us. And then he mentions to Herman that the matter of the cargo will have to be addressed with his creditors and elsewhere. He starts looking through these papers and looks through all the sums. And he mentions about the citizens having pulled together at the Baron's request. But it was up to Herman to cover the recovery for the ship and the captain, the first mate, and the crew. And it came out to 135 silver each, minus the cost of the clothing, obviously. They give us some cut from some relative value. That's about 2 years' income for a free citizen. Russ starts to get into this diatribe, is the right word. His concern about you're taking money from the people we rescued for rescuing them that you're going to give to us. That just doesn't sound right to me, kind of stuff. And Wes has to agree that doesn't do right. And so there's some off the table discussion about customs and that sort of thing. And there's actually a piece of discussion about we need to differentiate when we're talking off the table and we're actually saying something, because Wes made a comment about, how do we know that, if we give this money back because we don't want to take money from the peasants, that the Chamberlain keeps that difference. Which obviously, we said that out loud, that would be a bad thing, right? So we're just trying to figure out what's really happening here. But it comes across, no, this is part of the culture. These people are offering up a gift to you because you saved them. To not accept it would be, disrespecting their gift, kind of stuff. So, okay, we all come to a common understanding. And then there's some discussion with the Chamberlain. He says, "Oh, no. This is their way, their small way, thanking you for rescuing them from Minot." So after all discussion is done, Chamberlain looks overhead and says, "I understand you are a citizen of Minot." And that, Wes is thinking, they're going to crucify her for being, a citizen of Minot, this bad place, the slaver city, right? That she's part of that whole deal. And so there's a 2-piece conversation happening, in the live play. But people are seeing Heta react to this. She's got that fight or flight mode on it, and she's palming a knife behind her back, and between her and the window is a Chamberlain kind of thing. But Wes started to say, as soon as the Chamberlain talked about being a citizen of Minot, she's not a citizen of Minot. She's a spy stationed in Minot, thinking that would help divert things. And if she doesn't have to be a spy for bad guys. She could be a spy for good guys. I mean, she knows how to lie. She could just spin a tale that's close enough to the truth that it, washes out. But everybody else was thinking, Wes just ran her over. She didn't bother to throw her into the bus, just picked the bus up and ran right over. Oh, well, that was not his intent. It's kind of funny that everybody thought that when Wes was thinking she was a spy. She certainly can lie about what the spying stuff was all about. I mean, she can make up a plausible story. She doesn't have to say that, yeah, I work for the mafia. I mean, come on. But anyway, so there's some discussion, and Hedda gives Wes the evil eye, and Tyndall's the only one seems to be right there. It's okay, we'll get through this. Don't worry about it, kind of stuff. Yeah, I mean, we brought a message to her from Telgar, and so the Chamberlain is really interested in that. Well, I know, where is this message? What did it say? Well, we don't know what it said. We never saw it. We had the scroll tube, and we brought it, and it comes out that the only one who could say what it says was the person who received it, but it never really came out that was Hedda, although it should have been, 1 + 1 = 2. But Hedda does come up at one point saying that it was to who? It was to, what was his name? He's got a code name. What is his name? The Upright Man. It was to the Upright Man, wanting to know about troop types and guard emplacements in Minok. Well, the whole troop types and guard emplacements, tell the truth on that. You don't have to say it was from this Upright Man. She could have, I can't tell you who, I work for. However, they wanted to know, that kind of stuff. But anyway, that's what she says. Alexander has actually heard about this Upright Man guy. I don't think anybody else has, although Runt knows. And so and apparently the Chamberlain knows something about that as well, because he says, I suppose we would have bought that information anyway, and he chuckles. Says, we may want to talk with you again. Please do not leave the city. That's to Hedda. And to everyone else, he gives his thanks and the thanks of the Baron, and says he's been authorized to offer another 100 silver each from the Baron's funds. And, perhaps with your particular skills, you may be of use. And then he looks at Herman and says, I believe this concludes our business. Herman seems a bit confused about, these people are not necessarily who I thought they were, kind of thing. And he makes a little comment here about, it's not who you know, but who knows you. Door opens, there's a squire there wearing the Chamberlain's livery, and he escorts us out. As we're leaving, Herman mentions that after his ship is repaired, he may have some, job opportunities for us if we're interested. To the northwest, there are old fortresses that have been abandoned long ago, and the Baron has commissioned, able explorers to go and investigate. He's interested in finding out what is there, and are there any artifacts that may be of use to be recovered. And Herman and a fellow group of investors, could finance an expedition if we're interested in that kind of thing. And so we head back to the Golden Lion Inn, and we're start talking about all these kinds of things, what we could do, what we want to do, and then we turn around to ask Hedda something, and she is gone. And that's where we ended the session. Happy gaming. And Wes, keep your mouth shut.